Running for re-election to the U.S. Senate this year is Republican Senator Shelley Moore Capito, who joins us on Metro News Talkline this morning. Senator Capito, good morning. Thanks for joining us.
Good morning. Thanks for having me on. Thanks.
Absolutely. You have represented West Virginia since 2015 in the U.S. Senate, running for re-election. What is your strongest case that your record has delivered for the average West Virginian?
Well, I think what I've delivered is good, honest service, whether it's through my legislative careers, for instance, protecting the miners' pension and health and retirement plan, or creating the National Park and Preserve at the New River Gorge. I think I've been in every nook and cranny of West Virginia. The voters know me, and I'm now in a position, through my leadership position, through my service, where I'm chairing committees and subcommittees, where I can really direct more resources to West Virginia, but also work on the overall issues that will help everybody. One of the issues that I've really been plugging since I began in the Senate and have worked a lot on is the deployment of broadband all across the state. And that's getting better, and it's going to get even better once the BEAD money comes out. So I think I've been in every aspect of a lot of people's lives, and I know and listen, and I think they trust me.
Senator, good morning. TJ here. I want to ask you a point-blank question. You talk about your seniority. If voters were to go another direction, and that seniority obviously wouldn't be there, your replacement wouldn't have the same seniority that you do, would West Virginia lose? I mean, would we not get as much benefit as we currently do?
I do think West Virginia would lose. I do think whether it's through I'm now the fourth ranking Republican in the United States Senate in terms of leadership. This allows me to set the course of, for instance, for the tax relief bill that we passed last year for working families to increase the ability for child care and child tax credits and the savings accounts for newborns and keeping taxes lower and helping small businesses. You know, I'm right there at the table making sure that the policies impact West Virginia. And so I think we would lose if it's a seniority organization in some ways. I bring fresh ideas every day, but I do think I have the influence to be able to bring home the bacon, but also to bring home the policies and make the changes and work with individual constituents. I have a great staff that works very deeply and very hard every day to make sure we deliver from the federal standpoint what we can for our state.
U.S. Senator Shelley Moore Capito joining us, Metro News Talkline, running for re-election in the May 12th primary election. Senator, do you support extending ACA premium subsidies? And if not, how do we address the rising health care costs in the country?
You know, I think this was a debate that we had. The subsidies have lapsed as of last year, and I think there are gaps there. I think probably tens of thousands of West Virginians have lost some coverage, but others have been able to recover here, or their premiums did not go up as much as early predicted. We're working with people on individual cases to try to make sure they have coverage, because at the end of the day, we want a healthier West Virginia. We fight this all of the time. We've seen this through the drug scourge. So things like halting fentanyl at the border and things like that are exceedingly important. I want to see our young families be able to keep their children healthy so they can learn in school. So, you know, we're looking at different options here, but right now we're working on an individual basis. But I did not support extending the subsidies because that was a COVID era special case. And I think it's time for COVID era special case, especially in this times of limited resources, to expire.
Let's talk about the debt. We've talked before about moving and getting all 12 appropriations bills, getting back to that systematic flow. But even at that, from my read, we're still spending, or would spend, more than we take in every year. We would continue to run north of a $2 trillion deficit. What does Washington need to cut? What do we need to do to get into balance?
Well, this is the big question, and we see I think it's over $37 trillion debt, which is unimaginable, really, but that's where we are. So cutting spending is one thing that we have done. I've done that through as an appropriator myself through my bills, kept them flat so they're not growing. But also, I think growing the economy, making sure that we're bringing in more dollars, we're creating more small businesses, creating opportunities there. But we can't grow our way out of this either. I think what we need, is for Republicans and Democrats to have the courage, and I have the courage with the good ideas to be able to rein in what are the big drivers, and a lot of these are healthcare issues. You saw we did try to rein in some of the spending in Medicaid to try to pull in the long-term debt that comes along with it. And I think we've done a rescissions package, which means we've removed spending, which is the first time we've done it in decades. So we're moving there in small steps, but there's much more that we can do.
U.S. Senator Shelley Moore Capito joining us, running for re-election in the May 12th primary. Senator, over, many years, not just this administration, the executive branch has expanded powers, specifically when it comes to military operations, whether it was President Obama in Lebanon, President Trump now in Iran. What should be the Senate and Congress's role in overseeing military operations, and should Congress claw back more of that authority?
Well, I think that what we see now is we've got several votes. We had one yesterday on whether we should allow the president to go into Cuba. Well, are we going into Cuba? No. So a lot of this is political, but the Iranian situation is not. The president deemed, and I think this was not so much, and I think I've said this on the show before, was not when we went or if we should push back on Iran in their development of nuclear weapons. It was when and who had the courage to do it. And the president had the courage to do it. And I support that because I think a weakened Iran is a safer America, a safer world, and safer for our economics in terms of energy and everything else. But I do think at some point the president, they are sharing information. They did notify the Congress before they went in. At the highest levels, not everybody, because obviously it was a surprise, and this place leaks like a sieve, as you know. So I think that we need to have great oversight over what the president's doing. We do have it now, but at this point, I don't think he needs a War Powers Act. We don't have any boots on the ground, and I think that's the difference maker.
I want to talk a bit about permitting reform as it relates to affordability, because you're knee deep in it. I don't think the average West Virginian or the average American understands how difficult it is to permit energy these days. And I would contest that drives up costs. I mean, it makes things more expensive. Would you agree with that characterization? And two, how do we fix it?
Absolutely. The lack of being able to get through the federal bureaucracy makes it more expensive. A lot of times people leave, like the Atlantic Coast Pipeline. They left that big infrastructure on the table because they just couldn't get through the regulatory regime. So that's what you see with this president. He's deregulating. Administrator Zeldin has come to West Virginia at my invitation, and we took him to John Amos and to Nucor and to Toyota to see how permitting really influences manufacturing and energy development. And he's doing his best, but we need permanent permitting reform. And it was funny when you said I'm knee deep in it. I said I think I'm like waist deep into it because I'm leading the charge here. And there are estimates that there's $2 trillion of capital sitting on the sidelines. And we had a hearing where we had not just the owner of the company, we had the laborers there because this is a lot of labor jobs. And they're good paying jobs. It's whether you're building a space pad or a communications tower or a nuclear facility, a road, a bridge. It takes too long, it costs too much, and we lose out. And when we see our competitor, China, building at breakneck speed, I think it's troublesome on a national security avenue as well.
U.S. Senator Shelley Moore Capito joining us on Metro News Talkline, running for re-election in the May 12th primary. Senator, your opponent has criticized you as not being conservative enough, specifically pointing to a 2022 vote to approve same-sex marriage. How do you reconcile that vote with many of the conservative values in West Virginia?
I think I'm a known conservative in West Virginia. I'm certainly endorsed by West Virginians for life. I have a lifetime A rating with the NRA as a protector of the Second Amendment. People know me. I mean, I just cannot even, I'm going to hold myself back here because the negativity that is surrounding this primary, and mine included, with falsehoods, is just startling to me as somebody who's run many, many campaigns on issues all the way through. And so I would say I'll put my conservative creds. Remember, I was Republican before Republican was cool. When I came in 2000, I was the first Republican in over 20 years. I'm the first Republican senator to be reelected in our state since 1907. I'm the first Republican senator from West Virginia, and I'll hold my conservative values whether they're the values that Charlie and I have developed as a family over 50 years of marriage, or all the values that we have as both being native West Virginians, grown and nurtured by a beautiful state. I'm willing to put those credentials up against anybody's.
Why is it so divisive this time around? Because you piqued my interest there. You talked about how long you've been in politics, and I think if I heard you right, you said this is one of the worst primaries you've seen, if not the worst. Why are we at that point?
I don't know. I mean, I was down in Fayette County making a speech at Lincoln Day dinner, and, you're always trying to get applause lines and where people are really with you. And one of the things that the crowd really reacted to was, I said, I'm sorry for all these mailers that are, my mailbox is stuffed of really falsehoods, and I don't know how a voter can even determine which one of these is true. And they're so brutally mean with these ugly pictures. I think it's a total ripoff at the same time. And so I just feel like, the voter wants to see, what is your position on an issue? Do you disagree? That's what elections should be about. And it should be about the truth of where you've actually voted and how you've made your decisions over years and what decisions you would make in the future. And for some reason, I think what happens is, now that when I was first starting out as the only Republican in the federal delegation for many, many years, now we as Republicans have such a dominance that we end up turning on each other. That's a good way. That's a way to failure, in my opinion, and it creates hurt feelings and also falsehoods. So I'm not going to do that. I'm going to be a positive Shelley Moore Capito I've always been, and I'm going to respond to the people who know me and trust me, and they see me everywhere around the state, and that's, I think, my hallmark of my service.
Senator Shelley Moore Capito joining us, Metro News Talkline, May 12th primary. Senator Capito running for re-election. Another one of the claims that's floating out there, Senator, is that your support for the big, beautiful bill came in exchange for your son, Moore Capito, being named the Southern District prosecuting attorney for the United States in the Southern District there. Was there a quid pro quo?
Well, that's a new one. I haven't heard that one. So I'll put that in the categories of falsehoods and, fantasy land. I don't have to tell you the credentials my son has as a fine representative and lawyer in the states. He's a Trump supporter, and that's why the president wanted to appoint him. Certainly Senator Justice and I supported him, as we did Matt Harvey in the Northern District, and I'm proud of that.
Another one that is floating out there that I'll give you the chance to address.
Okay.
Insider trading. We hear a lot about trading, and some of your opponents have tried to throw stones at you for that, and they've called out your trading record or your husband's trading record. Is there anything wrong with what you've been doing when it comes to trading?
That again is something that is an easy target. This is a very transparent process. People in the Charleston and in and around the Charleston community know Charlie and I very, very well. And the line of trust and integrity that we, I think, have maintained through our lives goes through whatever we've done in our personal financial life. You can go look at my disclosures. You can look at my whatever I've done over the so many years of accumulating certain assets. That's what you're supposed to do. You want to be able to retire so that you don't have to rely on your Social Security. And, it's just a foolish personal attack, and I'm not going to respond any further to that.
U.S. Senator Shelley Moore Capito. Senator Capito, why should West Virginians send you back to Washington?
I think West Virginians should send me back because they trust me, as I've mentioned. They know me. My door is always wide open, no matter what your concerns are. I'm going to fight for the energy in the state. I'm going to fight for a strong border. I'm going to fight for economics. I've done individually a lot of things. For instance, I helped Nucor get their permits. I helped Yeager be able to expand their terminal. I've helped WVU modernize their dental lab. I've helped, or the dental school, excuse me. I've helped out in Berkeley County, our law enforcement get cameras, and the fire department to get a new engine or ladder truck. I've been helped certain areas get their water systems. We work hard every day in my office to make sure life's just a little bit better in West Virginia, and how we can fill that role. And that's through the lens I see my service, and I want to continue that, and I think I can build on what I think is a strong record.
U.S. Senator Shelley Moore Capito running for re-election. The primary is May 12th. Early voting is now underway. Senator Capito, thank you so much for the time this morning. We appreciate it.
Hey, thanks for the opportunity. I really appreciate it, and I encourage everybody to get out and vote.
Absolutely. Thank you very much. U.S. Senator Shelley Moore Capito.